And so what were some of the things that were going through your head when you were in that condition? Because I know, like you said, depression kind of lies to you and tells you things that are not really true, but they feel like it feels like the truth when you're in it.
Well, the lies that depression can tell you are usually based around usually the isolation or the loneliness or the sense of feeling that no one else feels like you do. You know, it has a way of keeping you away from others that may feel like you do. And it feels as if you're having the most unique experience because it'll sit there and just tell you you're ugly. It'll tell you you're too fat. It'll tell you you're too thin. It'll tell you, any number of things. I'm sure anybody could go through a list and say, okay, what are the most horrible things that you can say about yourself? And here they are, you know, and they feel very real, as if that no one's ever going to accept you or to understand where you are. And you know, the crazy part of it is that it's not like you're telling yourself these things. It's as if they're an honest belief. The belief is already there. You're like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to be alone forever, unlovable. I'm not going to, you know, and you play shit games on your head, you know? Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know I was doing it. Mm-hmm. That's the part. So it's being able to get with your own head and say, wait a minute. You got to start saying, you know, there are some lies here. And let's start calling the lies out.
So what was the turning point when you finally got help or someone finally discovered what was going on with you to give you help?
Yeah, I'd been in the hospital more than once. I started cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, not CBD, CBT. You know? But yeah, I guess eventually I knew it wasn't working anymore, and nothing was going to change any of it. You know, they often say that to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is kind of insanity, isn't it? Right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was sick and tired of being insane. I just kind of said, you know, it can't get any worse than this. I've been laid out on my bed watching TV for hours, can't move. I'm basically kind of a waste of space at this moment. So can only go up from here, you know, but it's not like you just have an epiphany. It's not that easy. I wish I could tell you it was. It's not. You have to start doing little things, one thing at a time, one day at a time.
And what was CBT? I mean, cognitive behavioral therapy. Tell me a little bit about that and how it helped you.
Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you deal with what's happening basically in the present. It kind of keeps you aware of your behaviors and what you have control over, what you don't have control over. And we have to think of life that, you know, if you live in the past and you start focusing on regrets, or you focus on how things should have been different or could have been different, or what you could have been or what others could have done, or any of that, you live in the past, that's going to create a lot of depression for you. If you try to extend yourself and live so far in the future, you think, well, if only I could this in the future, if I meet the right person or do the right this or that, or I go to school for that or whatever, if you start borrowing from the future, that creates a lot of anxiety. So I was always pulled between anxiety and depression. And I had to begin to realize that, you know what, wait a minute, I can't be on the end of the scale either which way. You know, the way to get healthy is to get in the middle and start saying, I got to live right here in the present. And you know what? Give yourself a break. Depression robs you. It's a thief. It robs you of your abilities. It robs you of your future. It screws you over with the past. It does all of these things to you, and it wins. So, for me, the best thing to do was to say, I can visit these ideas, but I can't live there. I'm going to take one day at a time right here. And I think that's why a lot of 12-step programs stick with one day at a time, is because that's all we really have. We only have today. So if you can just deal with it, deal with yourself, and give yourself a fucking break, man. Really. Because a lot of times we're down on ourselves. We feel like, well, I should have done this and I should have done that. Well, if you have depression, it's hard enough to get out of bed. But you know what? If you give yourself a break every day, getting out of bed will get easier. Little steps.
Right. And so with musicians that are out there that are listening right now, that feel hopeless, that feel depressed,
Right.
what advice would you give to them, or what would you say to them to help bring them some comfort and hope?
I say, man, you know what? You know how it is that we kind of stepped out on a limb when we went out and just kind of played in front of people for the first time. And, we kind of showed that vulnerability to others to just do what we do. It takes a lot to get out of your bedroom and just, play for people. But it's something we know as a musician you got to do. It's a part of you. You know it is. And take that same part of yourself and realize that there's more, there's help. There is, a way to deal with these feelings where you don't have to go down the rabbit hole. You don't have to, do a bunch of drugs or drink yourself to death. You don't have to lie on the couch and, dream your life away. Just to dig deep and find that part of yourself, because I know it's there. It's there in you, and I know it's there in me. And you're not alone at all.
I have to ask you this because I know you're surrounded by people who love you and friends, family. While you're going through your mental health journey, who was it that really listened and was able to help you?
I would say I had faith, for one. And I started trying to grow it. I started trying to have more meditation time. So I think I started listening more to myself than I ever had. And I also took a chance with therapists that were very, very good at what they do. And I did have to trust. And I did have to, I didn't have a lot of money for therapy. I took therapists that were willing to see me on a sliding scale, which means they take you, based on what you earn. And for me, it was like zilch. So, they worked for almost free. But, I took the chance and I realized that it's a long journey. This is not something that happens overnight.
So
I took myself as the one to, and that's basically what you've got to do. Others can help support you, but there are naysayers going to be around you that don't understand what you're going through. There are very many people that don't understand mental illness. And so oftentimes when people don't understand something, they balk at it. They say, oh, you're faking, or you're just lazy, or you don't know what you're talking about, or, or they don't know what to say. And they just kind of walk off and then kind of don't talk to you as much anymore. Like, oh, you're just that weird person, right? So, well, I've always been weird.
What would you have liked somebody to say if you did, ask for help and reached out to someone? What would you want them to say to you?
I would want them to let me know that I'm safe and they're not going to go put it on social media or go talking to people. I would really, feel that it would be wonderful if they could just say, look, I don't know what you're going through. They don't have to, because I don't know what I'm going through half the time. But listen, you want to ride to the therapist, you want to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, you want to get some coffee, you want me to leave you alone for a little bit, but I'm going to call you in 20 minutes, whatever it is, just to know that you're not alone in this thing. Because you're not.
Well, Kat, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that I was touched by it and learned a lot from you. Is there anything else that you would like to say or mention about your story that you'd like to let people know about?
Well, I guess I want to say, there's different kinds of depression. Mine was a kind of a genetic, but it was also situational because of the hardships in my family. Some people have a situation, maybe they've had people die or other hardships in their life, and you go through a phase of depression or, everyone may know what it feels like to be depressed at some point in time in their life, but basically it's kind of like, when does it get in the way of your life? When does it become something that goes past anything that may be considered kind of normal or temporary? And I like to say it's a lot like a Marshall amp, if it goes to 11, and we have a volume knob on this depression thing or any other mental illness, if it's going to 11, I mean, you better start talking to somebody or do something. Get out there. If it's a family member, if it's a friend, don't be afraid to talk about it. Let's get over the stigma. Let's not have a stigma about this anymore. We've lost so many greats. Look at poor Chris Cornell, suffered with depression a lot of his life, and we have tragic endings. This has to stop. We've got teenagers right now that are very, very highly creative and trying to do music and be artists, and this is too much and too long. We need to open it up. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. And let's stop hiding. Let's just be human, and let's get to the point, and let's get well together.
Thank you so much, Kat. And now, one of my favorite parts of the podcast is you are going to play an acoustic song.
Yeah, this one's called One and Only. It's kind of a love song. It's a little bit of a love song about someone else, but also for yourself. Because you are your one and only. And so, kind of goes a little bit like this. Where are the roses, darling? You promised me. Where are the places, baby, we used to be? You are my one and only. You are my one and only lover. You used to walk alongside me, tear me apart.
Now, Tony, some of the things that Kat mentioned in her story included things like family history of mental illness, especially on her mom's side, cutting, a suicide attempt, and also cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which ended up helping her with her depression. So what are some of the thoughts that you have on her story?
It's amazing. There is a genetic connection with bipolar and depression. So it's in her family history. So it's not a surprise that it would show up in her. And CBT is really important. It helps you stay in the now. You don't focus on the past and you don't focus on the future. You stay in the now, and that's critical to keep your sanity.
Yeah, I am really excited that she's gone through this mental health journey and then she's come out the other end and has really learned to live life with a condition that can be fatal.
Yeah, she's definitely a survivor.
She is a survivor, and she's been really persistent in finding the mental help that she needs.
Yeah.
You are part of DBSA. Can you tell me about the organization and how it could support musicians who might be suffering from depression?
Well, when you connect with other people that have the same condition, it's you're basically connecting with a lifeline. You're in a forum for mutual acceptance and understanding and self-discovery, whether you live with the mood disorder or you're a parent or you have a family member or friend that has it. So they're all welcome in the groups. The whole thing is to learn and share experiences about that.
So it's a sense of camaraderie, a sense of understanding, and people just being really vulnerable about what's going on with them, which, like you said, connects people and makes people feel maybe not so alone. Because oftentimes in depression, people feel disconnected.
Yes. It's kind of like a long-term suicide prevention strategy.
So thank you so much, Tony,
You're very welcome.
from the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance, and musician Kat Jensen for sharing her story. And until next time, be brave, ask for help, and be persistent in finding the mental help that you need. Check Your Head is kindly supported by Sweet Relief Musicians Fund, Lemon Tree Studios in Los Angeles, and other kind donors and sponsors. Visit checkyourheadpodcast.com, where you'll find more resources for mental help. And please subscribe to our podcast, especially on our Patreon page, where we've got all kinds of gifts and goodies for you. Also, find us on social media on Facebook and Instagram.